I am going to start, and if anyone else joins us, that's fine. Welcome, and we're on the 8th letter already of the Hebrew alef-bet, and we're going to be looking at this letter Chet today. So we've done alef-bet, gimel, daled, hey, vav, zayin, and this is Chet. Looks very like the hey, but it's closed up. This one's this open sound, and this is very much a closed and stronger sound to it. So this is the Chet, or Chet, or various ways it gets spelt in English, Chet. And it's the 8th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's written in various forms depending on the font that you're using. It's an elemental, simple letter. It just comes in one form, and it's got a numerical value of 8, and it sounds like ch. That's why I tend to write it like this, because if I write it like that, some people think it's ch sound. It's like it comes up in lots of sorts of words like challah and the bread that we eat, and some people call it by mistake challah. In English, of course, this is a ch sound. In French, it's a ch sound. So depends where you're from and what language you are from. But I tend to write it like that just to make it very clear that it's not ch. So it's a ch sound, and basically, Chet means life. There's other ways it appears, and in the Torah, in the written scripture, in the very old-fashioned sort of way of writing it, it's written as if it's 2 letters, a vav and a zayin. They're barely joined together, one opposite to the other. I love this idea of one opposite the other, and just needing this sort of roof-type structure that holds it up together as one letter. Otherwise it'd fall over if it was just one without the other. So it's this fusion of these 2 letters, this vav and this zayin, and on top of this letter they put this roof type structure, hator teres, a bridge that unites the 2. In essence, the vav represents, strangely, the vav represents the male principle, the husband, and the zayin, the female principle. It's usually zayins that tend to be quite masculine letters. They have lots of, if you remember from last time, lots of zayin words, are very masculine. But in this one, they're representing the female principle, as if this is a unification between the female and the male, one opposite the other. Again, it's almost like a soul, Chet, this life soul that's torn against itself. What are the sounds? Sorry, the sounds of the Chet. It's from the top of the throat and the bottom of the throat against each other, sort of fighting, one opposite the other again. A lot of things about opposite each other here. And try making the sound. You're all muted, so you can make the sound. This sort of that comes up and down the throat. It leads on this very strange sound, leads to many strange and conflicted word pairs. And here are some of the word pairs. In one word, it means sin, Chet, and in the other word, chesed, pious. So you've got from a sinful person to a pious person, both begin with ch. The birth pangs that almost kill you. Sorry, I haven't done this in Hebrew. That is chaval. The life, we say l'chaim, to life, when we say cheers to people. So it's the pain of giving birth, that almost deathly pain that is a sort of punishment pain. And also life comes forth with chaim. Desecration, when you're desecrating something, hilul, but also something that brings you together, enjoy, havruta, friendship group. Destruction, herban, when you destroy something, and something again that unifies, hupa, we stand under a huppah when we do marriage ceremonies. So there's these these sort of conflicting endings. When we end reading in synagogue a book of Torah, so Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, etc., we say at the very last, after the last bit of it, Hazak, Hazak, be strong. So it's also got this idea of strength to it. It's a very strong sounding letter. According to the Jewish mystics, Chet is a letter of life, since Chaim is life and Haya is living, and both begin with this letter. And true life comes from Hasidut, devotion. Chet, 8, is also the number of grace, Chen. When we talk about God being graceful or having grace, we talk about Chen. And the number of wisdom is Chochmah as well. To have wisdom is also with this letter. Also, Eve, the mother of all things, Adam calls her Hava. It's not Eve, it's Hava. And it's got both of the sounds. They're very strong. One united, this V is this sort of unifying letter with this very airy, breathy sound. So interesting play on letters and sounds. The number 8 represents transcendence, a level beyond nature and intellect. And if everything in the world revolves around the number 7, the 7 days of the week, the 7 years of the sabbatical, the observance of Chel, I told you about last time when the Torah is read every 7 years by the king. 8, however, represents transcendence, a level that is beyond natural order. Sorry, I must have got this out of order. Where's Gematria? There we go, Gematria. 6 represents the natural world. Hashem created our world in 6 days, and therefore we work on 6 days. It's about very much about matter and being in the world and making things that you need. 7 represents the perfection. On the 7th day, we celebrate Shabbat, which is known as Mayam Olam Haba. The world to come. It's a bit from the world to come. It's the closest we can get to the perfect spirituality of the world to come. Shabbat is a celebration of creation by stopping creating. So 6 days we're doing all this work. 7th, we rest from it and are grateful and gratitude for it. 8 is symbolic of an entity that is one step beyond the natural order. It's higher than nature and its limitations. It's going beyond it. So we're coming up, not long from now, the celebration of Hanukkah. Hanukkah actually means dedication, rededication. The temple in Jerusalem has been destroyed and defiled. It's been desecrated. And now it's going to be rededicated. So all these words come in. And the greatly outnumbered Maccabees resolved to battle the Greeks. And that's not logical or natural because, of course, there's a huge Greek army and about, I don't know, 150 of them. And so they're using faith and courage that are not just normal human nature for most of us. And so they get this miracle that happens, and the miracle that they win and get to cleanse out the temple again. And also this miracle of the oil. It's a strange mythological sort of tale that the oil lasts for 8 days until they can get fresh oil to re-purify it, ready to keep the lamp alive. It's a funny time of year at the moment. We've just started a new month this morning, Kislev, which is the month of sort of darkness when we come out of being in the world and remove ourselves into a sort of place of darkness and contemplation and dream world. It's a lot of sleeping and dream world, and maybe myths are part of dream world. I just had a lovely story about what we're going to be reading in this month. We read a lot of Genesis of dreams, like Jacob's dream, and there's this idea that Jacob goes back to pick up, before he leaves, he goes up to pick up something he's left behind at his where his movement. It's these little jars which in a few thousand years time are going to be the ones at Hanukkah that contain the oil. There's this sort of mythology that goes about getting light into darkness. And it's all about getting light into darkness. That's the basis of a lot of Judaism, I guess. So on Hanukkah, we light an 8-branch menorah. So it's this idea of 8. We circumcise our children when they're 8-day-old babies, unless they're not well. It's delayed, but it's usually on the 8th day. It's called the Brit Milah. It's a Brit is a covenant, and it symbolizes our nation's logic-defying covenant with God. It's a very strange one. People say, why do you do this? Oh, it's barbaric and it's all this and it's that. We think to perfect or to finish creation. God creates for 6 days, rests on the 7th, and then we have to all get up on the 8th and continue the work and make the world better. So we're doing perfecting it, or we're trying to perfect it. There's a beautiful saying in Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers: we're not obliged to finish the work. I mean, I'm not going to make the world perfect, but I'm not allowed to resist trying to make it better. That is what we're meant to be doing. So we are perfecting, in some ways, nature. If we can make it even more beautiful and wonderful, and that's what you're meant to be doing. And the circumcision is partly that sort of symbolism that of trust and faith in a covenant that is everlasting. We don't have a fickle God that, oh, I like you, oh no, now I like you. We don't have the playground God. It's an everlasting one, and we put it in our flesh, and it's about finishing the creation, I suppose. So 8 has lots of interesting meanings to it. As I said, when I look at Sefer Yetzirah, there are 10 channels in which the Sephirot, those big directional or qualitative type channels exist, through which all the letters carve out their individual space in it. And the 10 channels give you directions of space and finitude, time, and body, world. And they are also in opposition to each other, a bit like Khet. The 10 channels in Sefer Yetzirah are slightly different to the ones in Kabbalah. In Sefer Yetzirah, they have a direction. So you have north, south, east, west, up, down, or above, below. So these are all space. Then they have a time one, beginning and end. And they also have a body, soul one, called good and bad. They're opposites, one opposite the other. There seems to be this need for us to be opposite one, each quality be one opposite the other, a bit like a Chet. We don't just have goodness in the world. You can see that there is evil. And somehow we're meant to balance the two. Tiferet is the Sephirah of balance. But all of this, up and down and north and south and east and west and beginning and end and good and bad, are all part of this cosmic architecture that makes the entire universe. The temple is a sort of model of a cosmic architecture, and each one of us is also a model of a cosmic architecture. And so we hold ourselves in this sort of balance between these two letters, Vav and Zayin, to form this Chet, these two opposites, male and female, or beginning and end, whichever way you want to call these letters. We're holding ourselves in a sort of balance between these two. Otherwise, the whole thing falls over. And Chet, this 8th letter, keeps us all in this sort of balance. It's a very interesting possibility. And to finish that idea, apart from the fact that in Sefer Yetzirah it's an elemental letter, like I said, it's not a double letter or mother letter, it's just an elemental letter. And it's the 4th one that we come across in Genesis, when all the world is being formed by the words. And the letter Chet symbolizes God called the firmament heaven. And so Chet is the first, is the fourth time we have God calling something, naming something. And these elemental letters are naming things. And he's naming the firmament heaven. Chet also refers to, in space, the constellation of Cancer. In time, it's the month of Tammuz. And in the body, it's the liver. But it also has a foundation of speech to it. And it also, on the cosmic cube that I showed you before in Sefer Yetzirah, it's the east lower border. Very strange to give those sorts of names because, of course, the cube is all over the place. So north is not always up. It can sometimes be down. But if you had it static, it would be that sort of border. So Chet is an interesting letter of opposition, really, and also being above, going beyond what is there to make the next bit of wonderfulness. We're in the 8th day, and we're now moving on and making and creating the worlds ourselves and trying to make the world better and finish creation. Never are we going to do that, obviously. I hope not, otherwise it's all over if we finish creation. There's a saying, a garden that is finished, a garden that is complete and everything is done is dead. Because, you know, they're meant to be living and growing, and we're now in late autumn, going into very soon winter, where it looks like everything is dead, but it's not. It's all sleeping under the soil, ready, we hope, when we have enough faith that it's going to come back again. So that's Het for you, the 8th letter, with all these interesting bits to it. And to finish, I thought we'd do a meditation on the Het. And so if you want to make yourself comfortable and just sit for a moment in your seat and feel yourself into your body and just relax for a moment and take a deep breath in and out. Maybe repeat that. And out. Just to let all the nonsense go. And perhaps a third time to refresh. And just hold yourself in a place of rest. There's lots of ideas going across the movie screen of your eyelids. And you can watch them come and go. But Het, we're going to think about this letter of opposites. And they say opposites attract. What opposites are you attracted to? In your work, in your relationships, in your friendships? What are you attracted to that is very different to you, but you absolutely need it? It makes you part of you. Do you seek out friends who are very different to you? Do you need people that are different to you? Do you need work that's very different to you in some area you would never have thought was you? The only thing you need to ask when you're attracting an opposite is it good for you? Is this opposite good for you? Does it make you realize who you are? Does it make space to make you who you want to be? Does it provide that bridge that holds you up? Like a Het, where you can be either the Zayin or the Vav, knowing that there's something holding you up. If they don't provide the bridge, then there's no point to them. They're too different from you. But if they do provide the bridge, then they're what good for you. They reflect something back to you, different from you. Something you need. What opposites are you attracted to? Make sure they're good ones for you. And we all know what good is. Well, I hope we all know what good is. Which ones are good for you that you seek? You don't have to become it. You just have somebody else be it. You make a good partnership. And maybe breathe out a couple of times. Again, in and out. We come back into the room.